We'll start in a second. This is just a quick sound test. Hello everybody, welcome to Members Monday number 5. Members Monday number 5. And we have had some new members sign up this week. So perhaps we'll get some new members coming in. Perhaps we won't. It is a busy time of year. This is going out 30th of December, that funny time of the year between Christmas and New Year where time seems to stand still. You never know what day of the week it is. That's where we are now. But we do have one member here. Bart is here. So welcome, Bart. And for the past, in fact, I've got a question for you, Bart. Can you see the previous Members Monday live streams in your feed? So can you access the previous ones? I'm pretty sure you can, but I just want to make sure you can access. You can view the previous ones, so you're not just viewing the live ones, they stay there for you to view. So that's a quick question for you, Bart. But what have we been doing in Members Monday? Well, we've had 4 great sessions so far, and we've been working through a member file. So Bart is one of our members, and he sent me in a file, which I think is so useful for what people are trying to do out there. And it's a fairly straightforward thing that Bart is trying to do. At least it looks straightforward, but Bart has a data set, and I've recreated the data set here. Bart has a data set, and he's looking to answer questions about that data set. So for example, in this data file, product 42, what is the SKU code? What is the size of that product? This is the kind of thing we're trying to do. Just fairly simple questions, but very time consuming. It is so annoying to have to click around Excel files, open up new Excel files, go to different sheets on an Excel file, scroll down an Excel file. All of these things take time and energy. With VBA, we can do them at the click of a button. And Bart's saying there's a problem with the live stream. He's only getting the sound, Bart says. Okay. Just give me a second, Bart. I'm going to try to see if I can fix this. Refreshing stream. Yeah, Bart, I'm looking at my monitor stream and I can see everything. Everything looks okay. So just try refreshing the page, Bart. Just try refreshing the page, and I'll go through some of the things we've done so far anyway. So don't worry, you don't have to be here for everything. So we've got our data set. We want to interrogate this data, investigate this data, whatever verb you want to use. People know the feeling of having to do this kind of work. So we've got a list of things that we want to do here. What we've done so far, we've created this situation where we can put a product name in here. I've got product 18 there, and Bart says the stream is working excellent. Put a product name in there, then click the button, and we're going to have some information returned here. Okay, and shall we see if this works? Shall we see if this works? Let's go to the data file. Let's choose product 25. I'm going to close the data file. Also, remember, guys, you can download these files. I've put the links in the chat, at the beginning of the chat. Okay, I'll also put the links in the description if you're watching on the live replay. So make sure you work along with me. So let's change this to product 25. And we're just going to hit get info here. Now, I'm not absolutely sure what's going to happen here, but let's give it a try. Get info, and we get a nice message box saying info imported for product 25. So if you've never seen VBA working before, you're going to say, whoa, what just happened? What just happened there? Well, I can tell you exactly what happened. We can go to the VBA editor. Excel went and worked through this code. And what does this code do? Firstly, it configures a path to open. Okay, so we're going to put the name of the file here, and Excel is going to take that file name and concatenate it with some more code. That's going to allow it to open the file. So I'm using the F8 key here. Using the F8 key, the file is now open, the data file. I'm going to keep going through the code using the F8 key. Then we're going to configure some variables here. Go back to the previous streams if you want to know exactly what we're doing. We're going to dynamically configure the target range here. That means if the data set gets bigger or smaller, rows are added or taken away, this code is still going to work. Then we're going to find the, is the product in the file? If the product is in the file, we're going to find the target row. So what row is the product on? Just going to hover over target row there. I can see the product is on row 6, and we can see the product is on row 6. Hit the F8 key again. Transfer the data back in. So we're now writing that back into the original file and then closing that file, and then nice message box flashing up here. So how cool is all that? So that's kind of revision for us, but that in itself could save you a huge amount of time. Let me go over to the other side of the screen here. So let me know in the chat bar, what is it you'd like to do today? I have an idea. So we've done this target ranges dynamically. We can say done here. What about looking at multiple products? Maybe we could try to do that. Look at multiple products, or at least begin to look at multiple products. What do you think? So for example, we'd have a product name. Yep, let's say product name here. And by that, I mean the prod code number. So the product name and then the SKU. Say we just want to look up the SKU. Bart says I was thinking the same thing. Yeah. So I think that's what we should do today. So if we want to look through multiple products here, how would we do that? And there's different ways to do this. So let's have a look at the code. Think about the best way to do this. Whoops. Okay. I'm thinking, should we put this code in the same routine, or should we put this code in a different routine? What are the pros and cons of each? Well, if we put the code in the same routine, so we include it in this subroutine, then that keeps all the code in the same place, in the same routine. But I'm looking at this subroutine, and let me know what you think, Bart. I'm looking at this subroutine and it already looks quite long. My preferred approach, and the approach I recommend, certainly for people getting started, is rather than having one long routine, have multiple short routines. And Bart says, what if we had the same name in the same column we are looking at? What if we have the same name in the same column? Yeah, so Bart, I think you mean, let's look at the data file quickly. Just want to address your question here. The data file, just going to open the data file up. So Bart, I think you're saying, yeah, if we have the same product more than once. Okay. Maybe that's a better thing to look at. Yeah, I think that's actually better. It's more logical, Bart. It's more logical to do that first, is what I'm thinking. Okay. So maybe we'll have a look at that. Yeah, and Bart's saying, yeah, I'm scared it's going to be really long code. Yeah, I mean, code does get long. It can get long, but I always say keep the stress levels down. You've got to try to keep the stress levels down, and we can do that by organizing the code as best we can. Okay, let's go back into the VBA editor here. So we spoke about this in the last stream. So here, this line of code is giving us the target row. And I think somebody else, we've had another member log in. So hello, new member, and say hello in the chat. And certainly ask me some of your questions, and welcome. Excuse me. So this target row, this is going to work, or this is going to give us the first occurrence of the product we're looking at. The first occurrence. Okay. So this could be problematic if we have multiple occurrences here. Okay. So how could we deal with this? Is more than 0, then we're going to do that. Okay. Okay, let's have a different approach here. Right, so I'm just going to comment this out. And let me just talk you through the concept here. So rather than using application.worksheet function, let me open the data file again quickly. It's going to open it here. So rather than effectively using the match formula to find the product we're looking for, we're effectively matching it. Hello, Gerhard. Gerhard, welcome. I think you've just signed up after the previous stream. So welcome. And yeah, Gerhard, we're working through Bart's example at the moment. So Gerhard, maybe it's a good idea to look at the community tab on the channel. Look at the community tab. You should be able to see the previous Members Monday streams. If you look on the community tab, you should be able to see Members Monday 1, 2, 3, 4. We've had 4 previous streams, Members Monday streams. So there you can see us working through this task, Gerhard. We're working through this task step by step. So let me know, Gerhard, can you see the previous streams? Let me know. Okay, so rather than using a match formula to find the product, we're going to loop through. And then when we find the product, rather than putting the information here, we're going to set up a little database. So for each time we find the product, we're going to write it here and then here, write it here and then here. So if we've got 3 products, we're going to have 3 lines of data here. At least that's the plan. So this is more useful if we have multiple occurrences of the same product. Then this approach here, using match, is not going to work so well. So Gerhard, if this discussion is not making sense to you, don't worry. It builds on the previous stream. So you might have to go through the previous streams in order to understand this discussion. So we're going to say, and you can see I haven't deleted this code. I haven't deleted it. I've just put an inverted comma here and an inverted comma here. That means the code becomes a comment and Excel will ignore it, but I haven't deleted it. So if I want to bring that code back in the future, I can just delete these inverted commas and bring the code back quickly. This is a good tip. It's preferable to having to, go back to a file and copy paste code across. For example, yes, Bart says I understand, and then refresh is every new loop, something like that. Let's go through it. Right. So we've already got target range here. So this is going to be useful for us, but we want to say to Excel, loop through each cell in this target range. So to do that, let's declare range. So I always say generic range variable, because in order to loop through the cells, we need a variable to support that loop. And then we can say Chris cell for each Chris cell in target range. Okay. Yes, in fact, we want to say dot range, target range. Okay, why was that dot range important? Well, that dot range is important because it's going to connect the range to the with statement here. And that means that Excel is going to understand, oh, sheets 1, this range on the first sheet of the workbook. This full stop or this period is so important here. If you forget that, then this code is not going to work with the same degree of accuracy. So make sure you remember those full stops if you're working with and end with, as we are here. Right, so we've opened up a loop. What do we do when we open up a loop? Always close the loop straight away so we don't forget to do it later. Okay, there we go. And then let's just say chriscell.address here. Okay, so we built in a new mechanism. So that's good progress, but we've got to make sure that that new mechanism is working. So our approach is always we build in a bit, then we test it. We build in a bit, then we test it. As opposed to doing all the testing at the end, which is going to be much more difficult and stressful. Remember, it's all about keeping the stress levels down. Right, so I'm going to put a stop in here, left click in the margin here. So that's a breakpoint. So the code's going to stop once it gets to that breakpoint here. What are we expecting to happen? Well, I'm expecting a cell address to flash up, and that address should be in that product data range that we're aiming to loop through. So let's go ahead, save the file, Control S. I'm going to close the data file. I'm not sure if the routine works if the data file's open, so I'm going to close that. Get info, running the routine. Going to tab back to the VBA editor using Alt and Tab, by the way, Alt and Tab on the Windows PC. Okay, going to hit the F8 key now, and we've popped up there with B5. We're happy with that. So what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next once I play the code again? F8 key, stepping through the code, we've got B6, F8 key B7, F8 key B8. Okay, so maybe we could run the code to here. I'm just wondering if we can see. Let's take this out now. I just want to run to the end of the loop and then see F5 key here. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to see if we could get the last address in the range, but I'm pretty confident that that's working well. So we could see Excel was looping through the entries there, looping through the entries. So that's the mechanism that we're looking for. That's what we want it to do. Okay, so we want to know, is the value in this cell equal to the target product that we're looking for? Remember, close the data file again. Remember, we can put our target product in here. Okay, target product in here, and then we're assigning that value to a variable. So we're in C4 here. Yeah, and I can see product name, yeah, is being assigned to that variable. Okay, Bart says, I understand. Excellent. Yeah, Bart, it's really helpful for me if you let me know in the chat that you're understanding. Okay, so now we can say if Chris cell. I mean, for completeness, you could say Chris cell.value, but the value property is the default property of the cell. So you can just say if Chris cell, and then equals prod name. Then we're just going to flash up a message box saying product found. So again, we're still in the testing stage here, just going step by step, steady and systematic every time. So we're expecting at some point, we're going to have a message box flashing up saying product found. How many times is that message box going to flash up? That's a good question for us. How many times is that message box going to flash up? Well, it depends. How many times does this appear in the data set? So I'm going to go ahead, open the data file again. So how many times does product 25 appear in the data set? It appears once there. That's helpful. We've already got a match formula set up here. Let's change this to count if. And count if is range and then criteria. And the criteria is going to be the cell above. Okay, so product 020 only appears once. It's saying, what about product 25 here? Whoops. Okay, F2. Product 25 appears twice. Okay, I'm just going to put a filter on here quickly. Control Shift, right, down, Alt AT for filters. I'm just going to go to product 25 here, just so I can see the row that it's on. Okay, so we're on row 85 there. Alt AT again to clear the filters. So yeah, you could see I did the filters there just using the keyboard shortcuts. I'll go through that again because I think that's useful. Control Shift right and then down. Alt AT puts the filters on, and then Alt AT again takes the filters off. So these Windows shortcuts are super important for us. Okay, so product 25 appears twice in our data set. Okay, Gerhard, fantastic. That's really helpful for me, Gerhard. Thank you. You know, we're still getting started with Members Monday, so it really helps me that you're coming with a positive, cooperative attitude. Yes, so Gerhard, yeah, I recommend you stay with us. Stay with us for a bit today. Tell me something about yourself, Gerhard. You know, what country are you from? And what stage are you at in your career? Are you early career, mid career, late career? Are you a programmer yourself? Are you looking to get into programming? I'd really like to get to know about your story. That's going to help me create value, you know, specifically for you. Okay, let's go ahead, close the data file. We're expecting this message box to flash up twice. Tab back to the VBA editor, because if the value in the cell equals product name, then the message box is going to flash up here. So what happens? Okay, product found once and product found twice. Okay, that makes sense. Then we've got an error. Interesting. Okay. Other file. Target row 0. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. So did you see why we got that error? We got that error because we're trying to use the target row variable, but we haven't actually allocated a value, to the target row variable there. So that's expected. You know, when you get an error, it's always a learning opportunity. We can always learn something from having an error there. So that particular error makes sense to us. Okay, let's close you again. So that's okay for us. Right, so how to manage this. So it will be nice to have both of these values stacked up here. Let's have row number as well. Okay, that's going to allow us to distinguish between the different occurrences here. What's the best way to do this? Okay, various ways to do this. I'm going to do this using a named range. And I think we've spoken about naming conventions, okay? Okay, Bart's got to go. Okay, Bart, we'll see you soon, Bart, and I'll keep working through this example. Okay, Gerhard, welcome, Gerhard. Gerhard is from Cape Town. Cape Town, Gerhard, fantastic. I went to Cape Town a few years ago, 2015, because I went to watch England play cricket against South Africa in Cape Town, and England are playing cricket in South Africa at the moment, I believe. Fantastic stuff. Such a beautiful part of the world. I had a great time there, and I'll certainly be back at then. I'll be back there again. Cheers, Bart. See you soon. I'll definitely see you next Monday. Thank you. Okay, so Gerhard, I think you're the only person with us at the moment, or maybe there's one other person with us. We'll see. So Gerhard, let me know if you've got any questions. I'm going to continue working through this example for Bart. As I said, everything will make sense for you if you go through the previous Members Monday videos. Okay. Right, we're going to use a named range here. Okay, so naming conventions. Okay, what I usually do with a named range is I'd have the first letter of the sheet, of the worksheet, and then some meaningful information is what I'd have. Meaningful info. But this sheet doesn't currently have a name, so I'm going to go ahead and give this sheet a name. Desktop view here. Alt OHR, and let's call this sheet control. It's in the control file. Let's call it control. That's fine. Okay, I'm wondering if that's going to create any problems in our code having a different sheet name. Let's go back through the code quickly. Okay, I think that's okay. Yeah, that's where this code is advantageous. Okay, where you've got the first sheet in the file, so regardless of the name of the sheet here, this code is still going to work. So that's where using the sequence number can be advantageous. So I'm confident this code is still going to work even though we've changed the name of the sheet here. And I'm going to go ahead now and use a naming convention here. So the first letter of the sheet is C, and you can see I've selected the file, selected the cell that I want to name. So B19, I want to give this cell a name, and then I'm going to use the shorthand way. I call it the shorthand way of naming a range. So C, and then underscore, and then let's say data start, something like this. This is a very typical named range for me. So this C tells me where the named range is. Why is that useful? Well, just one thing quickly. You can see I typed in the named range and then hit enter. Hit enter on the keyboard. A mistake people often make is they forget to hit enter on the keyboard. That means the named range isn't properly programmed into Excel. So we can see we've got the named range there. The named ranges appear in the name manager. Alt MN gives us the name manager, and we can see here we've got our named range. Because it has a C at the front, I can tell this is on the control sheet, and I can see the range there as well. We could also create named ranges using the name manager. Here we can hit new and create a new name. I like the shorthand way that I just demonstrated a few seconds ago. I like that shorthand way because it's just a little bit faster than using the name manager. Okay, Gerhard says, I'm not a programmer, just a police officer. Love working with Excel and always looking for ways to make work smarter, not harder. We work with lots of data. Yes, Gerhard, fantastic stuff. So working in the public sector, and absolutely, if you're looking for ways to work smarter, not harder, then VBA is a great way to do that. Okay, excuse me. So let's go back into here. I can delete my notes now, just here. Okay, so we got a named range there now. Right, back into the code. Okay, so we don't want this message box appearing anymore. What we do want is the target row variable to be configured here, and we can say chriscell.row now. So the row property of the chriscell variable, and remember the chriscell variable is storing the cell that we're looping through in the data file. So this is the cell that we're currently on. So this is going to give us the row of the piece of data that we're looking at. So let's test it. Let's test it here quickly. Okay, I'm going to go, what's a good way to test this? What I'm going to do is put this like this. Okay. So if we get into the conditional statements, Excel is going to stop. We've got the breakpoint in there. So I'm just clicking in the margin, giving us the breakpoint. Control S, save the file. Data file is closed. So run the routine here. Tab back to the VBA editor. Okay, so I'm going to hit F8 now, and I'm expecting target row. This has taken a value of 6. That seems to make sense. I'm going to play the code again. F8 key, target row has now taken a value of 85. Is that working? That does appear to be working. You can remember, you can go back a bit in the stream and you can see where we checked the rows that contained this piece of data, this product 25 piece of data. Let's go and have a look now in the data file. You can see we've got it on row 6, product 25. We've also got it on row 85, I believe it was. Bring that into your screenshot. Row 85 there, also product 25. So I'm happy that that is working. Okay, so is this now going to work? Right, what adjustments do we need to make to the remaining code? You can probably stop the video and work this out yourself if you're watching on the replay. So what adjustments do we need to make? We need to make some adjustments to these lines of code here. Okay, so product name. Okay, what adjustments do we need to make? So rather than having these hard-coded references here, we can use our named range here, which is C underscore data underscore starts. Okay, then copy paste that, Control C, Control V here. Didn't quite get the copy there. Control C, then Control V here. Excuse me, I think got a bit of a winter cold coming on, I believe. Just come on today. So back to the data file quickly. In fact, no, let's stay in this file. So what information do we want to appear? Well, we want the product name to appear here. Product name to appear. So in the VBA editor, we're going to use offset here. I'm going to go ahead and just use the underscore here. That's going to continue the code on a new line. That's only for display purposes. You don't need to do this in your code. I want to do it so you can see the code all on one screen there. Okay, and we're going to use an offset here. Say offset 1, 0. Okay, so XI is going to start in this cell. C data start is going to move 1 row down, 0 columns across. But I want this to be, I'm just going to get rid of this code now. Just want this to be the name of the product. Where is the product name? Well, the product name, yeah, it's on the datasheet, but it's also already stored in a variable here. So it's quicker for us to just use the name of the variable there. Okay. And then, so you want the name, the SKU. So go back to the data file quickly. Where is the SKU? So if I were being critical about the code now, I would say we need some annotations here so that I know what data this refers to without having to open the data file. That's certainly a weakness of our approach. So the SKU is in C. So I'm going to go ahead, change this to C, and then put an annotation here. Just say SKU. SKU, okay. Okay, close the data file again. And then finally the row number. Let's just finish this SKU line of code first. So again, we need an offset. So stop the video. What should this offset be here? What do you think? Before I put it in quickly. So offset 1, 1. So now we want to move 1 column across, of course, 1 column across. 1 column across. So this looks like it should work for us. Right, if we run the code now, Control S, save the file, what do you think is going to happen? It might surprise you what happens now. Let's go ahead and run the code. Get info. Okay, so we do have some information here. S1742. So there's some interaction between the files. So we're happy with that. Let's work on getting this row number in. Okay. Equals, let me say chrisl.row here. Okay, and I've just realized that all this code has got to go up, Control X. We've got to put this code into here. Yeah, into this conditional statement. And again, suffering a little bit from lack of annotations here, so maybe we'll put some in. I mean, by suffering, I mean I'm struggling to understand what the code is doing because of the lack of annotations. But here we're saying yes, okay, and the lack of indentation as well, proper indentation, there we go. So if this row is the target product, nice, clear and informative annotation there. Control C, and then put the same annotation at the end of the conditional statement, and then just say end if, and end, got the end in the wrong place there. Okay, and then assign assign row to variable. Okay, I'm happy with that. Transfer info back to the control file, product name, SKU, and this is going to be the product row. Okay, there we go. So the reason I moved that code up, you could see I cut and paste that code into the routine here, is because we want this code to run every time Excel finds this product. Every time Excel finds this product, we want this code to run. And what the code is going to do is note down the product information here. Control S, save the file. In the chat, Gerhard is saying, I've made some Excel workbooks making work better, but at this point I want to go deeper into VBAs. I can see there are endless possibilities. Absolutely, Gerhard, there are endless possibilities here. And you know, if you've got some basic Excel skills, some formulae, maybe some data analysis skills, some pivot tables and things like that, you are in the perfect position to start benefiting from Excel VBA. It's a different world. It really is a different world, a new world of possibilities. And I'd say start working through some of the videos on the channel, work through the Excel VBA for Beginners playlist. That's going to give you lots and lots of ideas for getting things working in your work. Good to have you with you. Good to have you with us, Gerhard. Thank you once again for joining us. Okay, going to run the code here. And I can see some information has come in, but not quite accurate. You can see I've got the row number here. That's a very typical mistake in Excel VBA, certainly a typical mistake that I make. We're going to go ahead here and just adjust this offset. Control S, save the file. So now we should get what we're looking for here. Okay, the information is imported there, but can you see what's happening here? Remember, we're aiming to have 2 rows of data, because this product appears twice. The product appears twice in the data file. So we want one set of product information here, one set of product information here. So what is actually happening? Well, I'm going to put a breakpoint in, which should help us understand what's going on here. Okay. So back to the control file now. Okay, so we're halfway through the code. You can see what's happened. So we've got some information in here from row 6, not from row 85. Previously we saw row 85 there. So I'm going to play the code, F5 key. And now we can see, yeah, we've got row 85 there. So we are overwriting. We're overwriting the first entry, row 6, with the second entry, row 85. So we're close, but we're not quite there yet. Let me know, Gerhard, let me know, how did you find Tiger Spreadsheet Solutions? Were you just searching for Excel VBA tutorials? Let me know, Gerhard, how you found Tiger Spreadsheet Solutions. So what's the next step, or probably the final step in order to get these entries stacking up here? Can you see how we might do that? This is certainly a stop the video moment. Try to work it out for yourself. So at least what's the concept here? What do we need to do? And there's different, as always, there's different ways to do this. A good way to do this is to use a variable, store the information, store some information, store the number of products that are already in this table. Yeah. If we can have a variable that does that, we can use the variable in the offsets to ensure that those offsets are moving down as we add more data to this little table that we're building up here. What do you think about that approach? Not the only approach, but it's a nice approach, a fairly easy approach to understand. So we're going to have a new variable here. I'm going to say number of products. So number of products. And this is going to be an integer variable. It's going to be storing a whole number. And this is the number of products in the table. Okay. Dim no products as integer. And what we can do now is, it's best to initiate this variable at some point. Where to do that? Sorry, products. Okay, I'm going to do that here. I'm going to say number of products equals 1. So it's like our first product. And then when we put a new product in, we've got to increment that variable up number of prods equals number of prods plus 1. So x equals x plus 1, very common VBA construct. That's going to move the variable up. That's going to increase the value of the variable rather, which is going to have the effect of moving down this table. First, we're going to offset by a value of 1. Then we're going to offset by a value of 2, and so on and so on. So it's a nice dynamic solution here. So what do we need to do now? Well, we need to take this variable, substitute for this hard-coded 1. Make sure you put it in the right place in the offset construct here. So we want to control the number of rows, not the number of columns. So it should be the first of the 2 numbers there. Control S, save the file. Just sense checking the code, reading through it. Does it look reasonable? What mistakes have I made? Looks reasonable enough. So I'm going to click the button here, and we've managed to get our 2 entries in here. So pretty happy with that. Let's test it now. You know, we're not satisfied. Happy but not satisfied. If we can be happy but not satisfied, what do we need to do? Well, we need to test some different projects there. Gerhard said, I searched YouTube for VBA videos, and that's how I found Tiger Spreadsheet Solutions. I watched some of your videos. Excellent, Gerhard. Good. Good to hear that we're appearing on YouTube search, you know, when people search us. So that's excellent stuff. And let me know, Gerhard, does this example just look like is it a complete mystery to you, this example, or are you kind of following what's going on? Let me know. Okay, we've got product 25 there. Let's try product 51. I want to find a product that appears 3 times if we can. I wonder if that happens. Product 51 appears 4 times here, product 51. So what's going to happen then? What's going to happen when we put product 51 here? Stop the video. Think about what's going to happen. How many entries are we going to have stacked up here? Let me know. Or rather, maybe leave a comment if you want to, or it's more like more for your own learning, kind of taking notes. And what do you think is going to happen here? Right, data file is closed. Play the code, and we can see we've got the data stacking up there. So already feeling the power of Excel VBA. Just a click of a button, we've gone into another file, looked through the data, and found 4 entries. How long would it take you to do that manually? What do you think? How long would it take you to do that manually? Probably a good couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, and we're only scratching the surface here. So let's check this. Product 51 should be on row 22, going back to the data file. Gerhard says, yeah, I wanted a solution for the same scenario. The code is still not clear. Yeah, go back to Members Monday 1, Gerhard. Go back to Members Monday 1, work through the videos one by one. You know, we're 5 videos in. We've been working on this for 5 hours. So go back to video 1, work through them. I'm confident you're going to be able to make sense of what's going on. So product 51, where does it appear? Product 51 in row 22. That is accurate. Then it appears in row 40. Row 40 here, that is accurate. Then it appears in row 47. And row 47 here is accurate. And then finally it appears in row 78. And row 78 here is accurate too. Okay, good. So that's an example of the kind of testing I'll do. I'll probably do some more tests there. You know, testing can be boring, just testing things, going through things, but absolutely essential. There's nothing worse than getting that email from a customer saying, this file isn't working, this file is not accurate. That's the worst thing. It happens. It's going to happen on your projects, but we try to minimize that. We can minimize that with this kind of testing. Okay, so pretty happy with this. So what am I thinking now? Well, we're now populating this table. So we've now got to think, how are we going to clear this table? We want to avoid this situation. So I think we're on product 25. So what's going to happen now? Can you stop the video and think about what's going to happen now? This is going to show us the weakness of our current approach. Get info, Okay, the data is imported. That's good. Product 25 in twice, but then we still have product 51 there. We still have product 51 there. So we've got to think, how are we going to clear that? Maybe we'll have a look at that next week, but you should be able to tell from the previous videos in this series how we can do that dynamically. And the logic would be, say to Excel, before you start getting into this routine, go and clear this range. The way you define this range is by starting at the bottom of the spreadsheet, going up to the first empty cell. That's the end of the range, and then the beginning of the range is going to be one cell below this named range. Okay, sounds complicated, but very similar to the approach that we used here. The approach that we used right here in Members Monday 4. That will allow us to dynamically define this range and to clear it. Good. Okay, so yeah, we've catered for multiple occurrences now. So the main thing we've done is we substituted for the target row. We defined this, treated the target row differently. So rather than using application.worksheet function, which is only going to work for a single occurrence, we looped through. You can remember right at the beginning, we looped through this range, the range that we're defining dynamically elsewhere in the code. We loop through the range. Then if we find the product name, we're going to do this. Define target row and then transfer the data and then increment up our variable, which is doing the positioning. So that's how our code is working. And maybe next time we'll look at how to clear out this table. And then also, to look at multiple products too. So I think ideally, somewhere in the file, we'd have a table saying, check these products, check for these products. For example, check for these products. Then we can put some products in here. And let me know, Bart, if you're watching this, if this sounds good. Put some products in here in a list and then click the button and all of these products would appear in our list down here. And this is one approach for doing it. But as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking we could also filter this data, and maybe we'll look at this in a different, we'll look at this in another stream. So back to the data file quickly. Rather than manually pulling over this data, we could look at just putting a filter on this data. We can do this in VBA as well. I use both of these approaches. Sometimes I'll go in and put a filter on. I've used this approach at the moment in one of my sports trading projects. We've just gone through some files, put some filters on, taken some information back across. Filtering can take a bit of time, particularly if you've got a big file. So sometimes it can be better to loop through and find the specific data that we're looking for. But let me know, Bart, if this is of interest to you. Okay, brilliant. So that's as far as we'll go in this latest edition of Members Monday, making good progress through Bart's file. I think this is such a good example. This is exactly how I would work through a project. I'll probably even do 1 hour work sessions, 45-minute work sessions. That seems to work well for me. Having a clear idea what we're trying to do, good planning, then working steady and systematically, step by step, testing as we go along, keeping those stress levels down. That's going to allow us to make maximum progress with Excel VBA. I'll see you next week for Members Monday. Take care.